Hey guys, welcome to day 4 of the JavaScript series. Day 4 is conditionals. Let's just get right into it. So we're already on the first level. As you remember, these are 3 levels. We start with level 1, 2, and 3. The first exercise is to get the user input using prompt to enter their age or your age, the user. If the user is 18 or older, you tell them you're old enough to drive. If not, you tell them they need to wait an X number of years. So first we start by generating the code to get the prompt from the user. We put the number in front of it to make sure that because our JavaScript inputs treated as strings, so you need to make sure it's converted to a number when when JavaScript gets its hand on it to work on it. So that's why we put the number in front of the prompt. Then we'll create the variables to store the value. Then we create a logic that if they have to wait the legal driven age number of years minus their age. The correct way to do it would have been to put a math.abs in front of the level legal driving age minus the user age, because if they are actually, I don't think it's necessary in this case. It might not be necessary in this case. But if it happens that it comes out to be a negative number, it's always a good idea to the math.abs will just make it just a number, just a positive number. So we're writing the logic. We're using an if-else statement. If the user age is greater than or equal to the legal driving age, you're old enough to drive. Else, you have to wait till more years. Wait till being the variable that stores the difference between the legal driving age and the user's age. See, we got that. That worked. You're old enough to drive. Given an age where they're younger, we say they're 15, so they have to wait 3 more years to drive. So that's a pretty easy one. It's a simple logic. Like most level 1 stuff is usually just basic, easy stuff. All right, moving on to the next one. We're going to compare the values of my age and your age using an if-else statement. Log the result to the console stating who is older, you or I. So we use the prompt to get the age as usual. And then we output whether the difference between my age, that is the provided age, and the user's age. Once again, we put the number before the prompt because we're dealing with numbers and we don't want JavaScript to treat it as a string, because when it tries to work with it, it's going to generate not a number. It's going to say it's not a number because you can't subtract or add strings to numbers. So you get a not a number. But yeah, the age difference would be your age minus the age provided, that is the provided age minus the user's age. I think this is the one where I did need to put a math.abs in front of the age difference. Not the age difference, but like the calculations. So just like the number and then the prompt within it, there should have been a math.abs with a my age minus user age. I found out later that, there will be cases where the number will be negative and it makes the output really weird. So I put the math.abs in the template string, and then when I did the check using a copilot, it showed me that was not the best way to do it, and it put the math.abs. It wrapped the my age minus user age in the math.abs. So I guess it's better to do it instead of in the original calculation instead of doing it in the template string. I mean, I did it and it worked just fine, but yeah. So anyway, we have an if-else statement. If my age is greater than user age, I am the age difference years older than you. Then in the else-if statement, we have a case where the user's age and my age are the same. So you get we are the same age, yay, and yay us. And then the else case would be if the user was older than I think. Or was it that if the user was older than I, we should say something like, okay, I'm age difference years younger than you. So it should tell the user how much younger than I am than they are. Yeah, I think this is where I found out when I tried to do the third case and realized that it was gonna be I was gonna get a negative number. Right, I'm 24 years older than you. Then okay, we do case 2, which is where we're the same age, and I get 54. We get you are the same age. We are the same age. Yes, right. And then how old are you? I'm guessing they're gonna be older in this case. I am negative 31 years younger than you. So yeah, that you don't want an output like that. So I just added the math.abs, but it seemed like that was just not the best place to put it. It was a better idea to put it in the age difference calculation itself. But it still worked anyway, so I left it in. Yeah, there we go. So we get absolute numbers now instead of negatives or negative, so there'd be no negative numbers. And then moving on to the next question, that was if A is greater than B, return A is greater than B, else A is less than B. Try to implement it in 2 ways using an if-else statement or ternary operator. So same process. We get the prompt. We get the user to give us 2 values. Then we take those 2 values and compare them using an if-else statement. If A is greater than B, it should alert A is greater than B. Whatever number they put as A and whatever number they put as B. Or else A is less than B. So whatever number they put as B will be greater than whatever number they put as A. The first method is using the if-else method. It's just an if-else statement. If A is greater than B, alert. And if else, actually, no, I think I put it, okay, yeah, there's a third case. If A equals to B, which I added. We're not required to, but I just couldn't do that without considering a case where they were the same value. So I just put a third case for if A is exactly equal to B, then there'll be an output that A is equal to B, and then the else will be else, B is greater than A. If you have been watching the series and you enjoy the content, please don't forget to like and subscribe, or just to help us so we can keep this going. Also, we haven't been very consistent with our streaming on Twitch, but if you also want to, you can catch us at twitch.tv at Miles Rock. We game and code. That's the main thing we do, mostly coding, but we haven't been very consistent lately. We've been very YouTubey. I think I think I like this YouTube format a bit better. But I still try to stream on Twitch every once in a while. Make some friends, make some coding friends, and see if I can learn some more. I've gotten this far through Twitch, making friends on Twitch who have been very helpful with my coding journey. So I try to get there once in a while. But there we go. We entered the value for A, and we've entered the value for B. A is greater than B. Case 2, I'm guessing we're gonna enter 2 equal values. 21 and 15. 21 is greater than 15. All right. So I don't know. I think I did that backwards. I did the B greater than A before the A greater than B. And then we have 12, and then we have 12. So 12 and 12 are of equal value. The code works. If you notice anything wrong or anything weird about this, please feel free to let me know in the comments so I can learn from you and also correct it. If need be, if it's an egregious error and I totally need to take it offline and correct it, please make sure to let me know in the comments. I would truly appreciate it. But yeah, this is the ternary method. Ternaries are basically easy. It's just basically the if-else statement, but without the if-else. So let's say you say A is greater than B, followed by a question mark, which is just that is the if A is greater than B part, and then you follow with a colon, and that is the else part. So, and it's always a good idea to store it in a variable. So if A greater than B, that's a question. Is A greater than B? If that's the case, then alert, do whatever you want the code to do, which in this case is to alert that A is greater than B, followed by a colon, which is else. Is A equals to B? So this is an if else if form. Like usually ternaries, you only need two parts, but you can also for an else if statement. But if it's an if else statement, then you have to, in the else portion becomes an else if. So you write A equals, you write the condition and then followed by a question mark, basically repeating the first part, and then alert whatever condition, whatever you wanted to do after you've asked the question. And then else, and then you finish it off with the else part, which is another colon, alert that whatever you wanted to do at that part. So now we're gonna check if the code is working. 10 and 10 of equal value. Let's see, do we continue? I didn't feel like continuing too much because I think we did already in the first part. But there we go again. Please enter a value for A, 12. Please enter a value for B. I think 18. 18 is greater than 12. So yeah. Now we've seen it in both the ternary and the if-else method. 25. B is 13, so 25 is greater than 13. All right, it works. We can move on to the next question. Next question was, even numbers are divided by 2 with nothing left over. How do you check if a number is even or not using JavaScript? This introduces us to the modulo operator, which checks remainders. I think the formula for checking even numbers is, let's see, if the number is divided by 2, can be divided by 2 and not leave a remainder, then it's even, right? And if it does leave a remainder, then it's an odd number. I hope I said that right. So input validation also comes into this one. So I think if it's not a number input, that's just to check to make sure that the user's input, which is what we get from the prompt, is a number. So that if it's not a number input, alert input is not a number. So just if they enter anything but a number, it'll just alert them that they need to input a number that's not a number, and the input required is a number. Then else if, right? If input modulo, the modulo is the percent symbol thing, 2 is equals to 0. So that is whatever the user enters, if it's divisible by 2 and not leave a remainder, then it's an even number. And if it does leave a remainder, which is the else statement, then it's an odd number. So we tested with 2, I think. We got an even number. We put not a number is not a number. Okay, so yeah, there we go. I put a string, and I realized that telling it to put the input is not a good idea. It's output and not a number, which is what it's not. So we're just saying, okay, that's not a number. That's all I'm changing. It's just like when I asked it to generate the input, it couldn't because it was a string. So it just outputted it as not a number. So now we just changed it to strings. So it doesn't have to do all that. It just looks weird. It looked weird to me, so I changed it out. I didn't want it to say not a number. It's not a number. That is weird. And if it's now somebody who's used to coding, they wouldn't have been confused by non. Like, what is non? I just put regular English, plain old English. That's not a number. But yeah, these are just the tests to make sure the code works. I'm still wondering. I think I'm still. Okay, so I tried negative numbers. That was not an issue. Negative 25 is an odd number. And then I did it with using the ternary operator, using the ternary method. It's basically the same thing. You store it in a variable. The if else, you write it, the if part, you write without the brackets and the if statement. You just write the whatever condition you put in the brackets, the arguments for the if part, and then followed by a question mark. And then the same thing you put in the curly braces, you put behind the question marks, and it'll do the same thing that would basically have been like putting in an if else statement. So the part before the question mark is the if part, and the part is behind the question mark is what's supposed to happen after you've put it behind the after it's checked the condition you set. So it said if it's same things. If it's not a number, let them know that it's not a number. If the input they put in, which is a number, can be divided by 2 and leave no remainder, then it's an even number. And if the input they put in is divided by 2 and leaves a remainder, then it's an odd number. Pretty straightforward and easy. Once again, please don't forget to like if you enjoy the content. It would really help us out. Get our numbers out. And just to help us know that people are watching and there is still an audience for this kind of content. I'm just learning, so like also if you see any errors, feel free to let me know so I can learn from you and correct it if necessary. But yeah, there we go. We have an alert. 2 alerts. So if we checked if it was a number, do this. If it's an even number, do this. And if it's not an even number, do that. And there we go. Now we're checking to see if the code runs. That's not a number. That's just the input validation, so a part to make sure that the user enters the correct input. Because without that, they could just type whatever in and you'll get some weird outputs from the code. It's always weird to see. But now on to level 2. Here we're supposed to write a code which can give grades to students according to their scores. If they scored between 80 to 100, they get an A. If they scored between 70 and 89, they get a B. If they get between 60 and 69, they get a C. If they get between 50 and 59, that's a D. And if they get between 0 and 49, that's an F. As usual, we prompt, and always remember to put the number when you're dealing with numbers to make sure so that JavaScript can interpret it as a number instead of a string. And then we do some input validation. Same thing. If their user's input is not a number, or if the input is less than 0 or greater than 100, you ask them that we can't do anything in that range, so please enter a valid grade. Else, if the student grade is greater than or equal to 80, or it's less than or equal to 100, then let them know they got an A. And we do this down the line for each grade level. So we're just gonna go through it. Oh, there's also, I guess I should also say though, there's the pipe, which is the ORs, and the and. I think we did cover them in some of the previous on some of the previous days, but the OR, yeah, we did. That was what the last day was about. We did cover that OR and the and. But the OR is like when you're stringing conditions together, and you want like the OR checks if any of those conditions is true, then the output's true. And requires both sides to be true. So student grade has to be equal to or less than 89, and the student grade has to be less than or equals to 70, or the code will break, or at least it'll output a false result, which I consider the code breaking. It won't work as intended. That's what I should have said. But yeah, so we use the and to create a range between 80, so any number between 80 and 100, or any number between 70 and 89, or any number between 60 and 69, or any number between 50 and 59, or any number between 0 and 49. I seem stuck on something, but we're working on it. You barely made it. You got a D. And I think the last condition is the F condition. So we have student grade greater than or equal to 50, and student grade less than or equal to. Oh, okay, I didn't even need to do that, right? Because that's the only possible situation. So you get it now. All right, now we're gonna test the code, see if it works. See the teacher after class, you got an F. Okay. I hate when that happens. I always forget to click on the browser and then I type into the to the code. All right, that worked. All right. Yeah, okay, I switch it right. This is the input validation part. I entered a string and it asked me to enter a valid grade. So yeah, that the input validation works. All right, on to the next one. We're gonna prompt what month it is. Is it? What month is it? And based on the response, we're gonna alert one of the following. If the response is September, October, or November, then it's autumn. If the response is December, January, or February, then it's winter. If the response is March, April, or May, then spring. If the response is June, July, or August, then it's summer. Now the thing is, I stored this in one big variable. One big array, because that seemed easy to me at the point. But I just noticed it would have been even easier if I had broken it down into four arrays. So an array for autumn, an array for winter, an array for spring, and an array for summer. And that would just have made the code a bit less, long. It would have made the code a bit shorter. I'm storing it in an array for input validation purposes, so that I can use a dot includes to make sure that they only enter months. That is, they can only enter what's in the array. So this is the way generating the prompt. Because anything that is user input, I guess you got to be very careful with. Because the user can put whatever they want in there. So that's what input validation is for, to make sure that they input the right things, so that the code can give the proper output. Because if they put whatever they want in there, then the code won't know what to do, and it'll just generate some weirdness. But yeah, so we were prompting them for a month, and then we're we're also lowering it all to lowercase, because they could type in any case they want, and that also might cause an issue in the code. So we'll make sure to convert whatever they input down into lowercase first before JavaScript starts doing anything with it. So it doesn't matter what they type into the prompt or however they're inputting it, it still works as intended. So we're using the input lowered variable to convert the user input, the original input, into the lowercase. Then we're gonna write it in if else statement as usual. If the first for the input validation, it's if it's not month, if it's not the input that they entered, and if it's not a month or a value that's stored in the valid months array, that's what the not valid months dot includes month, then please enter a valid month. So if they enter anything not in the valid months array, it'll ask them to please enter a valid month. Right. And then as usual, we'll write an input lowered equals strictly equals to January, or input lowered strictly equals to February, or we're using an or instead of the and. Because for the and it would have to be all three values. But the or it is forgiven, and it could be as long as it's one of the values, you'll get the intended output, I should say. So it'll let them know that it's winter if it's any of those 3 months. Okay, then we're gonna go to the else part. Winter is cold, dress warmly. All right, then we'll do, I think spring next, right? That's spring, March, April, May. January, March, April, May. Which should be spring, and then June, July, and August, which should be summer, and then September, October, and November, which should give us autumn. But like I said, if I had, been a bit more patient, and I started in 3 different arrays, the code wouldn't have, been this long. I would have just told it to, if let's say I started in an autumn array, like an autumn, and I have all the months in there, so I could have just said if autumn months dot includes month, which will be the user input, that is the value that the user entered, then I'll put this, or else if it will be spring months, I guess. If spring months dot includes month, which is user input, I'll put that, yada yada yada. That would have just made life so easy, and I wouldn't have had to write that long. Else if input allowed strictly equals to January, or I wouldn't have needed to write that whole long then. I would just ask if the month is included in the seasons array. I'll put this. If it's not, well then, or else if then if it's included in this array, then I'll put that, yada yada yada. But I wasn't patient enough. I just wanted to get through it at this point, so I think I just started all in one big array, and then I just started working with it that way. But yeah, we're almost done. We're almost at spring. No, I'm sorry, autumn. So yeah, we worked our way from winter to the summer, to the spring, to the summer, and then to the autumn. Oh yeah, it's almost there. Almost. Okay, here we go. Alert. It's autumn. I forgot how to spell autumn. It's autumn. Get out and enjoy the colors. All right, there we go. We're getting there. Now we test it to see if it works. All right, so far so good. I made a mistake. I think, okay, I used the wrong variable. I forgot to change the variable. So now I have to change it to the correct variable. User input and month are the same thing. I just used month as my variable before. I didn't notice that I still haven't changed it in the dot includes months. Input lowered because it's after it's been converted to lowercase, so it doesn't cause an issue in JavaScript. But I still have an error in the console because I still haven't noticed the second month. All right, there it is. So yeah, input lowered, which is the same thing as month. I just changed the name of the variables for convenience. But there we go. Please enter a valid month. And then let's see what month it is. Yeah, so I just wrote. And numbers also gave me an error. Please enter a valid month. That's not a month. It's not in the array. Then January, I think. I spelled it with capitals just to see if that'll cause an issue. No, that did not cause an issue. So the two lowercase is working. I found out something later though that even when you use a to lowercase on a prompt, If the user were to hit cancel, you will also get another error in the console, because when you cancel, it comes out as null, which causes an error, which will cause an error in the console. I mean, it works. It's just, but there's an error. So I have you are supposed to first check if it's the user input. Then you lowercase it. If it's the input, you lower the input. Else, an empty string. But yeah, so I didn't notice the issue yet. So we moved on to the next one. The next one is to check if it's a work day or the weekend. You're gonna enter a day as the input, and then you're gonna decide whether that day is a work day or a weekend. So I created a valid days array also for input validation purposes. You could have just written an if else straight off, but when it gets into somebody else's hands and they hit and the code runs and the prompt comes up, they can enter whatever they want. Like they can just put any value they want in there, and that would not help anybody. That would just make your code weird. So we put it in a valid days array. So the valid days are the days of the week: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And then we get the user input using a prompt. We don't need the number this time because it is supposed to be a string. Names of the week, those are strings. So what day is it? And then we also lowercase that, so that there's no issue. Because, like I said, that's the whole point of user validation, just to make sure that whatever they input doesn't break the code. So user input, that's lowercase. I think this is the part where I figured out that you gotta do that. But here we go. So we use an if else as usual. If not the input lowered, the exclamation before the variable is not, or if not, valid days that includes the input lowered. So if whatever the user enters is not a value in the valid days array. And alert, please enter a valid day. I'm guessing. I forget what I entered the appropriate day. Yeah. But basically just enter a usable value, a value that matters. All right, else if it is a day in the valid days array between Monday and Thursday, I count Friday, Saturday, and Sunday as the weekend. I count Friday as the weekend. So Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Oh, I forgot Sunday. Wow, there's only 6 days of my week apparently. Sunday's a done day. But yeah, you get the gist of it. This is just we're just checking if else though. We're just learning about if else statements. But once again, I could also done this that way. I could have stored Monday through Thursday into a valid weekdays array, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday into a valid weekend days array. And then I could have said if valid weekday dot includes the input lowered, that is the user's input, I'll put this, and if valid weekend days that includes the input lowered, then I'll put that, and that would have just made the code way shorter. I wouldn't have needed to write the input lowered, strictly equals, all those days. But hindsight is 2020. I see that now. And we're just getting it all done. All right, Sunday alert. It's the weekend, yada yada yada. Let's go out and party. Well, yeah, it's the weekend. Let's have fun. All right, and I guess now we check to see if the code is working. 1, 2, 3, which is not a valid day of the week. So it says no, please enter the appropriate day of the week. What day is it? Also not an appropriate day of the week. So that didn't take either. What day is it? Tuesday. That's a valid day of the week. So today is a work day. Don't forget to pack a lunch. What day is it? It's Saturday. What does that mean? Okay, so I'm testing to see if it matters, if it's case sensitive. So I just typed some of it in uppercase just to see what would happen. It works just fine. So that's cool. I'm doing a little edit there. Got an output message. I think this is the part where I realized that I forgot that Sunday was the day of the week. Yep, this is it. So I put Sunday and I hit OK. And it was like, please enter the appropriate day of the week. I'm like, oh, Sunday is the day of the week. What's going on here? I still haven't noticed. And then I hit cancel and I saw the error in the console. So I had to go and find out why it was giving me an error. And that's when I learned that when you hit cancel, it outputs null. So you have to check for the lowercase, for the prompt, I mean. You have to check first before then lowering the case. That if there is a string in there, go ahead, lower the case. If it's empty or null, just output an empty string. So if user input that's lowercase, else output an empty string. Because when you hit cancel, I think it outputs undefined. And JavaScript says, oh, I don't know what the hell to do with that. There's nothing in there. So it's giving me undefined. All right, I think I'm gonna do a few. Now that I know that, I think I went back to correct it in the previous stuff. I think it was just this one that needed correction. You can tell that I finally got it. Because the first time I saw it, I didn't understand what it was trying to say. Like, I didn't understand why that would be an issue. Because I hadn't seen the error in the console. So I didn't know, like, what that meant. But now I finally get it that, okay, if it's not I thought it was an input thing. I didn't realize it was not. It's when you cancel without entering anything into the input box. That it outputs a null, like it's the null statement, I guess. So, like if you hit cancel, so now it outputs an empty string, which is nothing, and then you just get a please enter a valid day, as opposed to an error in the console. But on to the last, the last one. Cause I joined these two together because I didn't want to write a whole second program just for leap years. So I just put a condition where when it's February, because February is the day that affects leap years, it's 29. Wait, is it 29? I forget. But it's an extra day in the leap year. 365, 366 in the leap year. So yeah, so I just put one that it's February is 28 days or 29 in a leap year. That way I didn't have to write the two different programs for the what seems like one problem for me. If you feel like writing a whole other program for it, like you have an idea of how it would be important to write two different programs, let me know. Like I think that solved it, but if I'm wrong, I am open to a lesson and why, and an explanation would be nice. I'll take the explanation. So I created I put all the months that have 30 days in them. I stored them in a months of 30 array. And I created another array that have months of 31. store them in an array, and then I store February in its own array, so I can have that condition that says that. So months of 28 will just be February. So there's only 1 month in that array. Okay, we got the arrays out of the way. Now we have to get the prompt from the user that asks them what month they are inquiring about. That is what month they want to know how many days it has. So we'll do another prompt. Is equal to prompt. What month is it, I think? Oh, please enter a month for me. You see the improvement in the if-else statement in this case. Once again, we have to make sure everything is lowered so that the code doesn't break when they, enter all uppercase or mixed case. So JavaScript converts everything to lowercase, and then before it starts to work on it, to use it in the code. So if the first thing it does is converts everything into lowercase, so that it's not case sensitive anymore. Well, it's still case sensitive, it's still just all in lowercase, but it just makes things easier. The code doesn't break if they don't enter lowercase. It just does it automatically. So if not, the input is lowered. If not, months of 20, that includes input lowered. That is, if it's not in any of the 3 arrays, then it's not a valid input. And so you have to let the user know that please enter a valid input. That is one of the inputs, one of the values in one of the arrays. So the code just won't run or wouldn't get past this point until they enter a valid input. I actually like input validation. It makes sense to me now. I didn't get it before, but now I got it. Because I was doing everything in the console before, and I wasn't seeing it in action. And using a browser and prompting for it has shown me why that's important. When you do everything in the console, you don't think about input validation because it's not really anything. I mean, it still matters, but if you just store the value in a variable and you used it, you would get a console error, not a user. You wouldn't understand why that's important in the real world. So this way has shown me why doing everything in the console is not the best way. Unless you're you know what you are doing and you're used to making stuff for users, then yeah, that's cool. But if you're like me and you're new and you're not used to making things for other people, it's better to do it in the browser, to see how it would look to somebody else, as opposed to sitting all in the console and not seeing in the real world version, how it would look if it was somebody else using it. But yeah, input validation seems, so far as I've seen, it seems very important. Because you don't know what anybody's gonna do with the prompt that you asked that you are asking for, the user, for the input you are asking for. So you have to make sure that everything works the same no matter who it is and no matter what they're inputting. Is what I learned from this day and our chapter. You have to think about somebody else using it. When I was working in the console, I didn't need to worry about that. I just stored everything in a variable, so I didn't really think about any of that. That wasn't important to me. But yeah, so I think we got it. See, that made the code way easier. Imagine writing that if for the input lowered and then doing one for every day of the week. That would have been 7 different conditions as opposed to just 3. What was it for? Yeah, 3 in this case, right? And then I didn't have to write every single day of the week. I just said if, else if, months of 28 that includes the input, I'll put this. If months of 30 includes that, I'll put that. If months of 31 includes, just easier, way easier. All right, we're about to check to see if it works. Once again, thank you for watching. We appreciate you. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. That would surely help us. And we should be coming up with day 5 somewhere along the way. Can't give you a definite timeline, but it should be coming soon. But yeah, so we're checking now. Plus enter a valid month. Right, so the info validation kicked in. March, which is a month. Why is it doing that? It's telling me to please enter valid. March is a valid month. What did I do wrong here? Please enter a valid month. Input lowered. I don't know what I did wrong. Oh, okay, so yeah, in the if else, I wrote the ternary wrong. I wrote the input lowered or months of 28 or I used the or instead of the and. So like it still held true because it's if any of those things like there's no month that's gonna be in all 3 arrays at the same time. So that would always be true, I think, or is it false? I mean, it's gonna always be false. And none of the months will ever take. So I had to change the statement to months and that it has to be in all 3 arrays. The value has to be in all. If it's not in all 3 arrays, I apologize. If it's not in any of the 3 arrays, then please, it's not a valid input. So please enter a valid input. That had me confused for a split second. Like, what did I do wrong? But yeah, there we go. It was in the condition. It's all and then and for the other conditions.